Hello dear students, welcome to today's class on the enzymatic control of kidney function. So this mechanism is abbreviated as RAS, R-A-A-S, that is renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. So these are the main components involved, renin, angiotensin and aldosterone. So we will take each one of them. So first is renin. Renin is produced by, it is a proteolytic enzyme. That is why it is included under the enzymatic control of kidney function. So renin is a proteolytic enzyme which is produced by the juxtaglomerular apparatus of the kidney. So what do you mean by juxtaglomerular apparatus? So here we have the JGA or the juxtaglomerular apparatus. So the JG cells plus macula densa is equal to JGA. So juxtaglomerular apparatus is actually a system formed from two components, the JG cells and the macula densa. So first we go to JG cells. JG cells are juxtaglomerular cells. What do you mean by juxta? Near. Glomerular. So they are cells located near the glomerulus. That is understood. Now where are they located? So we will just take a diagram of the anterior part of the nephron where you have the Bowman's capsule. So this is the Bowman's capsule. Inside the Bowman's capsule is the glomerulus, and you can see the blood enters into the glomerulus through the afferent arteriole. Then it circulates through the glomerulus and it comes out through the efferent arteriole. So this much is already known to you. The blood enters into the glomerulus through the afferent arteriole and then leaves the glomerulus through the efferent arteriole. Now, on approaching the Bowman's capsule, so the afferent arteriole, the place where the afferent arteriole approaches the Bowman's capsule. On the walls of the afferent arteriole, there are some smooth muscle cells. They start getting modified. In what way? Their cytoplasm becomes granular and they develop large nuclei compared to the other smooth muscle cells of the afferent arteriolar wall. So once again, as the afferent arteriole approaches the Bowman's capsule, some of the smooth muscles on the wall of the afferent arteriole get modified in such a way that they develop granular cytoplasm and large nuclei. Such cells are the juxtaglomerular cells. So since it is located near the glomerulus, it is called juxtaglomerular. They are actually modified smooth muscle cells on the wall of the afferent arteriole as it enters the glomerulus. So this part is over. So you understood what is juxtaglomerular cell. Now what do you mean by macula densa? Macula densa means it is a group of cells of the distal convoluted tubule adjacent to the afferent arteriole and they become considerably narrower. So this modified region with narrow cells forming a group. And where are they seen? They are seen on the wall of the DCT adjacent to the afferent arteriole. So that group of cells is collectively called as the macula densa. So we will just have a closer look, for which we go to the next slide. Here. So we just take a look at the structure of the nephron. This is the Bowman's capsule. This region is the Bowman's capsule, cup-like capsule, the glomerulus, the proximal convoluted tubule, Henle's loop, distal convoluted tubule. When you draw the structure of a nephron, first it is Bowman's capsule, then PCT, then loop of Henle, then DCT. There is no question of DCT coming near Bowman's capsule when we draw it diagrammatically. But in the kidney, there will be around 1 million nephrons. They are tightly packed so that we can see that they are so compactly arranged so that we can see the distal convoluted tubule is very much associated with the Bowman's capsule or the afferent arteriole. So you can see a region where the distal convoluted tubule is coming in contact with the afferent arteriole. But when you draw a diagram, the distal convoluted tubule is far from the afferent arteriole, but it is not like that in the kidney. In the kidney, they are compactly arranged so that the DCT is very much near or in proximity to the afferent arteriole. So here is a place where you can see the afferent arteriole and DCT are coming together. At this place, some cells on the wall of the DCT, they become narrower and they develop into a secretory region. It is called as the macula densa. So here you can see this is a small part of the DCT which is in contact with the afferent arteriole, where the cells get modified to form the macula densa. Okay, so come back. So we were discussing about the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, in which the first component was renin. And where is renin coming from? Renin is the proteolytic enzyme secreted by the juxtaglomerular apparatus, which in turn is a combination of the JG cells and the macula densa. What are JG cells? The smooth muscle cells modified on the wall of the afferent arteriole. What is macula densa? The narrow group of cells on the wall of the DCT once it comes in contact with the afferent arteriole. Okay, so at this place is the macula densa. So they together secrete the renin. Now we will go to this mechanism. When is it operational? It's not operating always. So when does it start? If there is decreased extracellular fluid volume, this system is activated. So what do you mean by decreased extracellular fluid volume? Imagine this is a tissue with its cells. So these are the cells of that tissue. There is a capillary running through the tissue which contains blood. So as in any tissue, whatever required by these cells will be coming out of the blood capillaries. Okay, nutrients, ions, whatever is needed by the tissue, water, etc. will be oozing out of the blood capillaries. There is space in between the cells. It is called as the interstitial space, or you can call the extracellular fluid, or interstitial fluid or extracellular fluid. That means the fluid occupying the spaces in between the cells. So where is this fluid coming from? It is coming from blood. Suppose we are dehydrated. We had a rigorous exercise, but we didn't drink water. We sweat, we lose water. It is not compensated through drinking, and we suffer from dehydration. So what is happening? We have lost water from blood. Okay. So the blood volume will decrease. Suppose we had 4.8 liters of blood, and by sweating it came down to 4.7 liter. 4.8 came down to 4.7 liter. Just imagine like that. So automatically, when the total blood volume decreases, the fluid oozing out of the blood capillary will also decrease. So there will be decrease in the extracellular fluid volume. So once again, when there is dehydration, the total blood volume decreases, and thereby the transfer of water or transfer of fluid from the blood plasma to the extracellular spaces will decrease, and automatically there will be a decrease in the extracellular fluid volume. So everything has started from dehydration. Okay. Now what happens? So the same condition will be existing in the kidney also. The same condition will be existing in the tissues of the kidney also, where there will be decreased extracellular fluid volume. Now the JGA is located in the kidney, the juxtaglomerular apparatus, which is a combination of the JG cells and the macula densa. They are there in the kidney, and they also are part of a tissue. And when in the JGA, the extracellular fluid volume decreases because of dehydration, the neighboring cells, they send signals to the JGA. That is why it is called paracrine signal. That means local signals. So local signals or the signals from the neighboring cells, they will reach the JGA. That what signal? Which indicates that the extracellular fluid volume has decreased. So this will trigger the juxtaglomerular apparatus. It releases renin. Now, renin will be released to blood. When the JGA releases renin, it will be released to blood. So now, renin is there in blood. Now, what will renin do? There is already a component in the blood plasma which is called angiotensinogen. It is only a precursor, an inactive precursor which is circulating through the blood plasma. It is actually synthesized by the liver, but it is circulating through the plasma. It is into this plasma that renin is released. What will renin do? Renin converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1, which is a decapeptide, which is having 10 amino acid residues. So, renin is released by JGA, renin released to blood, renin converts angiotensinogen of blood plasma into angiotensin 1. What will happen to angiotensin 1? In the blood, there is an enzyme which is called angiotensin converting enzyme or ACE. This ACE, it will convert inactive angiotensin 1 into active angiotensin 2. So, this ACE or angiotensin converting enzyme, it is not a hormone. It is actually produced in the lungs, but it is operational in the kidney. Okay, so once more, when there is decreased extracellular volume, the adjacent cells will send signals to the JGA. It will release renin. Renin will be released to blood. In the blood, renin converts angiotensinogen of blood plasma into angiotensin 1. Now, this angiotensin 1 will be converted to angiotensin 2 by the enzyme in blood which is called as angiotensin converting enzyme or ACE. Now, so it is like a cascade. It's like a reaction cascade. What is this angiotensin 2 doing? It's an octapeptide. That means having 8 residues, amino acid residues. So what are the functions of angiotensin 2? Now it is active. It is an active component now in the blood plasma. What are its effects? First one, it is a vasoconstrictor. So you just try to recollect what I said about dehydration. If we have dehydration, the total blood volume decreases. So the blood pressure also decreases. Okay, so our body is now suffering from low BP, just to be increased. So for that, what will angiotensin 2 do? Angiotensin 2 is a potential vasoconstrictor. What do you mean by vasoconstrictor? Vaso means blood vessel or capillary or artery, constriction, compression. So it will constrict the arteries in such a way that, so the pipe is getting constricted. When the pipe is constricted, what happens to the pressure exerted by blood? It increases. Okay, so it is a potent vasoconstrictor and plays an immediate role in the regulation of blood pressure. So when its release is needed, its release is needed when there is decrease in blood pressure. So once this mechanism starts operating, it will increase the systolic as well as diastolic pressures, the two pressure components of the blood pressure. Now, so that is one of its functions. Now second, when we have dehydration, angiotensin 2 reduces glomerular filtration, because in kidney this process is continuous, that is filtrate blood, and the filtrate formed is called as glomerular. So we are continuously, our blood is getting filtered in the kidney. If it is not properly reabsorbed, we will lose lot of water. So actually by the process of filtration, we are not only losing waste but we are also losing water. So for the time being, what will angiotensin 2 do? It will reduce glomerular filtration. It will reduce the blood flow through the kidney so that glomerular filtration also reduces, and thereby when some amount of when the filtration rate is reduced, the rate of loss of water can also be reduced. Okay, so this angiotensin 2 reduces glomerular filtration by reducing the blood flow through the kidney, and when glomerular filtration reduces, the fluid loss is reduced, thereby blood volume is preserved. Now, angiotensin 2 also stimulates the release of aldosterone from the adrenal cortex and ADH from the hypothalamus or posterior pituitary. So, when these are released, automatically there will be sodium absorption and potassium secretion. So, this is what angiotensin 2 does. So, where did it start? It started from renin. Okay, then it became angiotensin, and now the function is taken over by aldosterone. That is why it is called as renin angiotensin aldosterone system. There is one more component which is called as angiotensin 3. That is, there is an aminopeptidase enzyme which can convert this angiotensin 2 into angiotensin 3, which is a heptapeptide having 7 amino acid residues, but it is subserving the same function as angiotensin 2 does. So it will be produced in small amounts. The majority of the role is taken up by angiotensin 2, but some amount of angiotensin 2 is converted to angiotensin 3, which has got the same physiological role as the former. Now, we will again have a quick look through this diagram. That is, when we have dehydration, there will be decrease in extracellular fluid volume that will be detected by the juxtaglomerular apparatus from the signals coming from the neighboring cells. So when there is decrease in renal perfusion, there will be stimulation of the cells of the juxtaglomerular apparatus, and it releases renin. Now, renin in blood plasma, renin converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Where is angiotensinogen coming from? Liver, but it is there in the blood plasma. So renin converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Now, angiotensin 1 is converted to angiotensin 2 by ACE, that is angiotensin converting enzyme. Where is it coming from? The lung. Okay, so kidney or the juxtaglomerular apparatus releases renin. Renin converts angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1 is converted to angiotensin 2 by the angiotensin converting enzyme produced by the lung. Now, what is angiotensin 2 doing? First of all, it will stimulate the adrenal cortex to release aldosterone. Okay, that is why it is renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. Now, what happens when aldosterone is secreted? It will promote the tubular reabsorption of sodium. It will promote the tubular reabsorption of chloride. It will promote the excretion of K+. And when sodium and chloride are reabsorbed, along with that, water will be also retained. Then it causes vasoconstriction, thereby increase in blood pressure. It will also stimulate the release of ADH from the posterior lobe of the pituitary, and when ADH is released, water reabsorption increases. So the total effect is water retention, salt retention. When water is retained, the total volume of the blood increases, and again the extracellular fluid will be enriched. Now what happens? The signal stops because there is enough extracellular fluid. It all began from decrease in extracellular fluid volume, but it will end when the extracellular fluid volume comes back to normal. So now the juxtaglomerular apparatus now stops producing renin. So this can be called as a negative feedback. If it continues secreting renin, blood pressure will shoot up. So to control that, there is a negative feedback. That is, once the blood volume is coming back to normal, the extracellular fluid volume will also be normal. Once it is normal, the JGA stops secreting renin. Now this process is switched off. Earlier it was switched on because of low blood volume. But once the blood volume is back to normal, it is switched off. That is why it is called as a negative feedback loop. This is hormonal control as well as enzymatic control, because there is enzymatic activity, that is the conversion of angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2, and renin itself is considered to be an enzymatic peptide. It's a proteolytic enzyme. So that is why we say this is enzymatic control which is operational in kidney function. Thank you.